لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وبيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك أنت التواب الرحيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. الحمد لله for the blessing of Islam, which is a blessing that humanity will continue to draw from till the end of days and not even begin to realize the extent of that blessing. Alhamdulillah for the blessing of Islam, the Islam of our Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, blessings and peace be upon him, of our Prophet Lut alayhi salatu wasalam, peace and blessings be upon him, our Prophets Ismail and Ishaq, Ishmael and Isaac, peace and blessings be upon them, our Prophets Yusuf, Joseph, peace and blessings be upon him, our Prophet Ayub and Yunus, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Prophets Musa wa Harun, Moses, peace and blessings be upon him, and our Prophet Dawood, David, alayhi salatu wassalam, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Prophets Sulaiman, Solomon, and Isa, Jesus, alayhi salatu wassalam, peace and blessings be upon him, and our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is the Islam of the Prophets from time immemorial to our very day. It is the same Islam. It is an Islam that put humanity in a relationship with its Creator, acknowledging and embracing that relationship. It is the origins, not the innovation. It is the truth, not the reformation. It what has been from time immemorial. It is a very basic and essential and primordial message. Humanity, you have a Creator, and that Creator has given you the blessing and the responsibility of an intellect and a heart and accountability. And what you do good, you will be rewarded for. And what you do bad, you will be held accountable for. And you have a merciful and loving God who is above all just. What more basic and more truthful than that? What more liberating and enlightening than that? Humanity, human beings, each human being that ever was and ever will be, do not think that you exist without purpose. Do not think that you exist in whimsy and vagary. You are so important that Allah tells us في محكم آياته يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وكان بالمؤمنين رحيما. People believe. This is the biggest obstacle and the first obstacle for so much of humanity. Believe that if you embrace your own creation, your own purpose, you will enter into a dynamic, into a relationship which is so blessed and so beautiful. We can only describe it as that, as beautiful. You remember your Creator. بذكر الله. What is dhikr? But remembrance. Remembrance of your Creator through everything you say and you do. Through acts of worship and acts of goodness, as I will talk about in a second. اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. Remember your Creator, remember your own purpose, remember your own destiny. And if you enter into this relationship, Allah, God, وَمَلَائِكَتُهُ, and the angels, in return, يُصَلُّوا عَلَيْكُمْ, in return, will pray over you. Think about that, brothers and sisters. You are so important. All you have to do is extend the hand to your Lord, and your Lord returns the favor by returning your salah in kind. You are so important that God and the angels pray over you as you pray over God. Tell me after that that a human being is not sacred and sacrosanct. Tell me after that not every human being that God puts on this earth doesn't have rights and entitlements that are more sacred than the entire universe. If a human being is worthy to be prayed over by God and God's angels, what can take away from your worth? What can make you question yourself? What can weaken you? What can cause your demise or deconstruct you? Nothing. Nothing, brothers and sisters. You are so important and so essential and so core that بِذِكْرِ not only does Allah remember you, but Allah and the angels pray over you. But there is an additional element. We pray over all the prophets that I mentioned and those that I didn't mention. We supplicate to God to pray over them. And especially our beloved and teacher and guide and mentor, Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. God and the angels pray over the Prophet والسلام, Muhammad, and we in turn are invited to pray for the Prophet. Now those who are ignorant don't understand that our Prophet Muhammad, like all the other prophets from Ibrahim to Moses and to Jesus, don't need our prayers. Our prayers will make them elevated in heaven? No. Our prayers will make them more important in the eyes of God? No. Our prayers somehow will honor them? No. But our prayers is a prayer for us, because those prophets will attest to the truth of our acceptance of their message in the final day. It is for our own good. And our prayers is a reminder and an acknowledgement of the ethical example that they set for us. And this is something that I want to emphasize. We live in an age in which so many have sullied the image of their own faith and the primordial faith of humanity, Islam, through acts of fasad fil ard, through corrupting the earth. And as the sages and the shuyukh of Islam have said, الربوبية تتجلى في العبد, that those who are truly pious, the image of the Lord manifests in them. You are, to the extent that you internalize the Lord in you, and the extent to which the prayers of Allah and His angels penetrate into your heart and into your mind, they color your behavior and your conduct. They make you recognize what is beautiful and what is ethical and what is good by intuitive nature. You don't need a great deal of learning to know what is good and what is bad. You know it. You know what is beautiful and what is not beautiful. Look at the simplicity and the beauty and the penetrating insight of the Quranic revelation. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Who can be better? First, مَنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ, that who acknowledges what God means and is for humanity and for Him. Second, عَمِلَ صَالِحًا, does good. All that Allah needs to tell you is do good because you know it. Rudeness is bad, kindness is good. Causing harm is bad, causing happiness is good. Causing misery is bad, causing human beings to feel elevated and liberated is good. Oppression and suppression and jails and despotism is bad. Giving people the space to breathe and to think and to act is good. Racism and injustice and unkindness is bad. respecting human beings and the dignity of human beings is good. عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. Do you need volumes to unfold it and decipher it? No, you don't. It is in your hearts. Only if you elevate the remembrance of Allah and the prayers of Allah and the angels, and it in return penetrate your heart, then you see it as clear as the sun. Then these shades of confusion vanish away. And the acknowledgement of the primordial truth, إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. I am but a Muslim. I am but a human being who knows his or her worth and his or her importance or his or her sacredness, because I have a purpose. And I am so critical that God and the angels remember me in proportion to my remembrance of them. وَضَعُ اللَّهِ يَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد أشرف وخاتم النبيين. When we pray, when we say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when we pray over Muhammad or supplicate or ask Allah to bless him, it should not be a phrase that we utter. It should be a remembrance of the ethical example that the Prophet ﷺ set for us. And as critically, we should not allow those who have set themselves up to attempt to sully our tradition and sully the tradition of the prophets as well as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, to make us confused about this ethical example. There is so much that we can continue to learn till the day of our death. Till the day of our death. When Anas, al-Sahabi al-Jaleel, the companion of the Prophet, says, I've served the Prophet 10 years, he never raised his voice and never told me, why did you do this or why didn't you do that? Isn't that an ethical example? When same Anas tells us, there was no ما كان أرحم للعيال من رسول الله. No one was more merciful towards children than the Prophet of God عليه الصلاة والسلام. Isn't that an ethical example? When among the many reports that a servant girl, 9 years of age, came to the Prophet while he was sitting down. She took his arm and led him out of his house to the streets, and he didn't even ask her, where are we going? And it turned out that she wanted him to talk to her employers or the people she worked for, because she was late and she was afraid that they would get angry. In other numerous reports, that woman would come and grab him by the arm and take him to intervene in their marital disputes. Isn't that an ethical example? When we read that his companion Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, when he, at the time he was a Khalifa, would go to clean the house of an old woman in Medina who was without children. How many of us would go and volunteer to clean the house of anyone? And he was a Khalifa. And he would volunteer to go clean the house. And he didn't think that belittled him or bemeaned him. When he, Abu Bakr, would walk in the street and children would march after him and yelling, Ya Abata, Ya Abata, oh father, oh father. They weren't his children, they were children of others. But they were impressed, the caliph, a star, is walking in the street, so they would march behind him and pull at his robes and say, Ya Abata, father, oh father. And he would just smile. He wouldn't get mad, he wouldn't get angry, he wouldn't bring his guards to keep the children away. How many of us can even absorb that ethical example from those who the Prophet ﷺ raised and formed? How many rulers do you know would be with that level of humility and that humbleness? When Umar ibn al-Khattab would lift on his back flour to take it to the house of orphan children and cook all night in their house, he doesn't ask someone to do it, but does it himself. And this is when he was a Khalifa. Again, the ruler of the Muslim state. How many of us can have even started to absorb an ethical example like that? And Umar ibn al-Khattab was but a student of the Prophet ﷺ. There is so much that we can say about the ethical example of the Prophet ﷺ and the students and the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. So much. And that is why we say alayhi salatu wassalam. Because when we ask Allah, when we remember, when we praise the ethical example, we are reaffirming our commitment and our obligation to understand what that ethical example was for humanity and to follow it. And to follow it through dhikrillah, and through that we obtain the prayers of Allah and the angels. Look at the beauty, and I'll close with these two quick ones. Look at the beauty of someone like Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Some call him the fifth rightly guided caliph. A caliph who, walking in the mosque, stepped on someone's foot. The man yelled out, "Are you blind?" Umar Abdul Aziz said, "No." People with Umar bin Abdul Aziz said, "What is this? That man is rude." He said, "No." The man asked a question and we answered him. "Are you blind?" "No." How many of us can understand this level of humility and humanity? For those who like to attempt to defile and make you insecure about your own ethical tradition, that I wish Muslims would have started to absorb and decipher and interpret it for the modern age. Or when Umar Abdul Aziz, an oil lamp went out, and he got up and he lit it himself, and his friend said, "Well, why didn't you let us do it?" He said, "I got up to light it, Umar bin Abdul Aziz, and I returned back to my seat, Umar bin Abdul Aziz." It took nothing away from me that I did as a caliph. I went and I lit my own lamp. That type of sturdiness and confidence that type of assuredness and humility, that type of humanity, how much we need it in the Muslims of today. Because if we were, we would become walking Islam. Each of us. Each one of us would become the embodiment of Islam in everything we say and do. Look at the Prophet ﷺ, when his daughter Zainab, radiallahu anha ardaha, when his daughter Zainab loves her husband, who continued to be not a Muslim and not a follower of Muhammad during their period of separation for 6 years. In a long story that I won't say, her husband sneaks back to Medina after they've been separated for 6 years, and sneaks back to her house and says, I ask for your safe conduct. And she loved the man. She loved the man and she refused to remarry, and he loved her and refused to remarry until he eventually converted to Islam, and the story is a happy ending to the story. It's a wonderful love story that maybe in one of the khutbahs we'll tell. But what is so remarkable about the steadiness of character that the ethical Islam constructs and builds, as Muslims have gathered to pray Fajr, she walks into the mosque and she yells out, "Qad ajartu Ibn al-Rabi'a," that I have gave safe conduct. I have given an assuredness. I have assured Ibn al-Rabi'a, my ex-husband at that time, of safe conduct, that he is safe, although he is an enemy, although he had fought Muslims, although he was in battles against Muslims, that he is safe in Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ says, in some stories or some narratives, he interrupts Fajr prayer, and others he had finished Fajr prayer. He turns to his companion and says, this is the first time I hear of this, just like you. But any Muslim that gives a commitment of safe conduct is obligatory upon the rest of us. Now, I often pause at this story. When Zainab marched into this mosque, the Prophet ﷺ didn't tell her, "You embarrassed me in front of the men. How dare you come in and say something like that? You belittled me in front of my friends." He didn't. All he told her is, "Ahsini mathwa, wa innaki la tahallina lah, fala yaqrabak innaki la tahallina lah." That treat him kindly, but do not have sex with him. He didn't even ask her to throw him out or put him in a different house. No one there said, "Woman, what are you doing in the men's area?" No one there said, "Woman, why are you marching in and talking to men as they're praying?" This was a different ethical example. People who were confident, people who knew their worth as human beings, people who understood what good manners, what akhlaq are, and what simple principles are, because they were in a relationship with their God and they understood that God is beauty and the angels are beauty, and that when their prayer and their blessings for and upon a human being is beauty, and that you don't return beauty except with beauty. إني داع فأمنوا. اللهم اصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا، واصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا، واصلح لنا آخرتنا التي فيها معادنا. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير، واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها، أنت وليها ومولاها. آمين. Allah bless us with the greatest blessing of being better Muslims. Allah allow us to understand and love and appreciate the ethical example of our Prophet ﷺ. Allah give us the blessing of following the Islam of all the prophets from the time of Adam till the time of Muhammad ﷺ. Allah give us the blessings of your acceptance, and give us the blessing of your remembrance and the remembrance of the heavens and the angels, so that we may be blessed and exist and die in beauty. Ya Allah, Ya Ali, Ya Azim. Aqim as-salat.